hā ki roto, hā ki waho. Kia tau te mauri I kokari nei, ina piki mina hiki, ko te rangimare ai toku I rapu nei, tihe mauri ora. Breathe in, breathe out. Settle the mauri that stirs inside of me through the ups and the downs. It is peace that I seek, tihe mauri ora. Tēnā koutou katoa, ki te ako tono ahau I te reo Māori. Nā mihi nui ki a koutou, nā manuhiri o tui o hui nei. Ki a koe o te kahurangi whae tariana, tēnā koe. Ki a koutou te taumata o GCOP, me nā kaimahi, tēnā koutou. Ki a koutou o te wānanga oronui o Tamaki Makaurau, tēnā koutou. Ko waiau, ko auraki te moka, ko waitaki te awa, ko takatimu te waka, ko tu ahuriri te tangata, ko kati māmo e rātou, ko waitaha, ko kaitahu ka iwi, ko tu ahuriri te hapu, ko tu ahuriri, tuahiwi rawa, ko uanuku ka marae, ko hakari, toku tipuna. Ko Price rātou, ko Vautreuse, ko Sutherwood, ko Falk, ko Morris, ko Grace, o ko whānau. Ko Judy Morris, toku mama, ko Ian Morris, toku papa whāngai. Ko Kirsty Morris, toku Taina, ko Riwai Grace, toku hoa rangatira. Ko Marvel Rawa, ko Charlie Chops, ka Kuri Pepe, no Otatahi Aho. Ko Kate Grace, toku ingoa. I aroha whakato, I aroha potumai. I hara toko toa, I toa takatahi, I toa takatini. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
Tēnā koe, Kate. Kia ora koutou, te lawhalova, ko Minnie Baragwanath taku ingoa. Greetings, I'm Minnie Baragwanath, and I am the Chief Possibility Officer at the Global Centre of Possibility at AUT in Aotearoa, New Zealand. Welcome to each and every one of you. Wherever you are in the world today, it is an absolute joy and a privilege to have you join us. Join us as we celebrate this showcase of possibility and our future. A celebration of possibility, leadership, design, and innovation. I would like to extend a particular welcome to an extraordinary leader, an extraordinary woman, Dame Tariana Turia. Dame Tariana's tireless support and belief in what is possible in social justice and in the advancement of the access community has been outstanding. And it is thanks to this ongoing support of Dame Tariana that we are all able to be here today. Kia ora, Dame Tariana. Thank you. Today, we are all living in a VUCA world. A VUCA world means a world that is increasingly volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Every day, all of us are impacted by global trends, whether that's the emergence of artificial intelligence, climate change, food security, increasing trends towards nationalism, extremism, terrorism, globalization, changing populations, aging populations, and of course, a global pandemic. We cannot escape the disruption and the volatility of the world in which we live. The question is, however, where is the leadership coming from to ensure that the more than 1 billion people worldwide who live with an impairment or access need are going to have a truly equitable and accessible future in which they can not only survive, but truly thrive? That is the question we posed 5 or so years ago when a small team of us here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, came together to question and grapple with how do we create a truly equitable future. We realised as we explored this rather massive concept that we needed to let go of some of the things that were holding us back, old paradigms, old frameworks, old ways of looking at the world. We needed to move beyond traditional concepts of disability and accessibility. We needed a leadership framework and way of being in the world that could truly deal with and design into a complex, volatile, uncertain future world. Through that process, the Possibility Worldview was born. Earlier this year, the Global Centre of Possibility launched the Possibility Leadership Program, a program where we invited access innovators and entrepreneurs to come together to be hothoused, challenged, stimulated, nurtured, to seek to create ideas that can truly advance a more accessible Aotearoa and future world for all of us. Today we celebrate those entrepreneurs and their pioneering ideas. These ideas challenge what we believe is possible within the arts, within cultural institutions, within youth development, community development, technology, education, and the list goes on. When we asked ourselves, where will the leadership come from for this VUCA world? We need look no further than this extraordinary cohort that you will have the great privilege of hearing from very, very soon. At the heart of possibility sits a very precious and important concept. It's a small word, but a very powerful word, and that word is with. Possibility is about leading, designing, innovating, and creating a future with the access community. It is distinct from designing to or for, which have been the traditional ways we have created the world around us and have therefore created a world that largely excludes up to 1 billion people worldwide. The possibility pioneers you will hear from today reject those outmoded approaches and embrace possibility and with at the heart of it. So when I speak of with, of course, it's about relationships. It's about people. And of course, none of us could be here today without some extraordinary contributions and support from a range of people. The B Institute Charitable Trust Board, headed up by the fabulous John Allen. An extraordinary team at the Global Centre of Possibility. Leslie Slade, Imogen Zeno, Sabrina Nagel, Sinead Watson, and Ben Marvin. And our international consultant, Janine Spence, who you will hear from shortly. An extraordinary array of partners, sponsors, and frankly, incredible believers in the work that we do. From AUT to Ortex to Alexander PR, Sedima Hotels, Microsoft, Studio XO, and the incredible team who have just delivered the most outstanding design work I've ever seen. The list goes on. Thank you to each and every one of you. And if I haven't mentioned you, please know how grateful we are for everything you have done. So join us as we pioneer a future of possibility. It is now my absolute privilege to introduce to you a design leader, a design disruptor, Janine Spence. Welcome, Janine.
Greetings. It's an honor to be part of this Possibility Leadership Program Showcase and to have worked with this group over the past months. For our celebration and showcase, I'll share some thoughts about how Design for Possibility demands that we change our design practices and to put this showcase in a broader context of that changing dialogue around the world. My name's Janine Spence. I'm a designer and a philosopher, always ready to examine how practice influences our results and to tinker with methods to increase inclusion and reduce bias. It's been a very special collaboration with the Global Centre of Possibility to develop and try out some new methods to really reach those goals. I live and work in the traditional land of the First People of Seattle, the Duwamish people, past and present. I am a long-term visitor and honor with gratitude the land itself and the Duwamish tribe. I'm speaking now with the background noise of early winter rains that have saturated the garden and have brought snow to our nearby mountains. I want to showcase 3 companies that are changing the dialogue and pushing the frontier. The first is a company from Victoria, BC, All L's Design Studio. It's very specifically named a design studio. They do custom fashion-first covers for prosthetics, and they're changing and challenging the medical approach to prosthetics. The mission, as the designers at that studio say, is to do for prosthetics what fashion did for eyeglasses, thinking of the covers as part of the whole, whether it is part of an expression or part of an outfit, it's a complete look. And the image here is of a seated woman wearing a pair of suede-heeled boots and a pair of red lace cutout All L covers on her prosthetics. The second company I want to highlight for you is Fable Tech Labs from Toronto, Ontario. This is a digital assessment company, and they do accessibility powered by people with disabilities. And they're working on two sides. One, they have a community, and they're building a community of testers who are people who use adaptive equipment. Their testers all come with the experience of using that adaptive equipment, and Fable builds up that community in terms of providing skills and mentorship and flexible employment. And on the other side, they have a growing list of customers who want to make sure that their websites and their software doesn't just check the boxes for accessibility, but they really are tested that the whole interaction flow works for people with disabilities. And the last company I want to mention here is a well-known company, of course, but the specific project, the Microsoft Xbox Adaptive Controller. And what's interesting about this, beyond just having produced a really fantastic product that looks terrific and challenges the notion that adaptive equipment needs to be beige, but here the engineering team itself completely changed their approach to design and employment. And they brought in engineers and researchers who used adaptive equipment, who had the experience of living and struggling with software that was not built for them. And in that process, they've completely transformed what a design studio at Microsoft looks like. And the image here is of a man using a range of adaptive and support equipment, testing out a prototype in the design studio with a teammate looking on. So with these as shared visions across these companies, and the Global Center possibility is looking at really specifically how to remove the gatekeeping and how to change the way that we work so that we are opening up the door and we are allowing more people to be the designer, more people to be the entrepreneur, to remove that gatekeeping that's happening there. And once inside, we've discovered, the methods are not inclusive. So we are really digging in and understanding how to change the practice of design. And I'll give you a quick overview of some of these areas that we're really looking at. And the framework that we have is to, for, and with. And Minnie mentioned this earlier. Design to is the idea that you have recognized that there are people who are trying to use your product or service who need some level of access that's not being provided. And think of this as the checklist approach to accessibility. Then design for means that you are doing more research. You have a broader understanding of who's going to be using your product or service, but you're still holding those design controls tightly. You still haven't completely opened up the door. And the approach for the Global Center possibility is design with. And design with goes right to the challenge of who is invited in. We saw an example of this with the Microsoft Xbox Adaptive Controller, where the team itself changed to really address inclusion right from the beginning. This is the broad framework. So let's look specifically at two examples that this group of entrepreneurs has used during this time in the program. The first is around facets. Facets are focused on the behavior, attitudes, and motivation in the context of how people will use your product or service. It is moving past the idea of a persona, which is an average of behaviors. But this is really looking at what's that range. Humans are complex, life is complex, and the way that they interact with a product or service is going to be complex. But we can pare it down to specific facets. And an example here is a way of learning. When someone approaches something new, how do they like to learn? Is it through tinkering, a trial and error approach, or do they like to learn in a structured way? And can you design for that full range so that you are enabling both ways of learning? And again, it's context specific. So one person may wish to learn through tinkering in one context and through a structured approach in a different context. The second one is really important. It's around story ownership. There's much talk about empathy and doing research with empathy, but the caution here is to not steal the stories. The stories belong to the person whose stories they are. And if the story is important to the work that you're doing, bring the person in along with their story. Don't treat the stories as novelties. In essence, don't be an empathy vampire. Engage in genuine collaboration. And we're just beginning. Possibility design considers the full range of human diversity to deliver better experiences for everyone and challenges us as designers and researchers to reinvent our practice. And I would say as business people as well. This becomes the start of new approaches that can shift our practices so that we support inclusion right from the start. The work of this cohort and the next will be testing out these new methods, and we're engaging with other thinkers and doers who are also challenging the status quo. We're learning from each other, and we're learning every day. Congratulations to the cohort for pushing forward inclusion and access. It has been a delight working with you and observing how your concepts grew. And thank you to everyone being here. The support of the broader community is critical as we examine and question our practices towards the goal of possibility. I am thrilled to see the upcoming project presentations in this showcase. Thank you.
Janine, that was incredible. What an absolutely thought-provoking and provocative presentation. Amazing. And now, it is my absolute privilege to introduce to you the first of a series of presentations by our possibility pioneers. May I introduce to you Double TLC.
In March 2020, our world changed, some believe irrevocably, with the global presence of COVID-19. Since then, many of us have had to change the way we live and work, and our choices have been severely limited. Many in the access community experience an unacceptable level of isolation and severely restricted access to resources that are already overstretched and underfunded. Society has learned to fear human contact and developed a reluctance to use the sense of touch. But touch is so foundational to the human experience that without it, we further marginalize millions of talented people worldwide in the vision-impaired community. Touch is one of the first senses to develop in utero. It's the one sense that's accessible to all of us, more or less all the time. Touch transcends language, culture, ethnicity, and even disability. It creates profound cognitive and emotional connections between us and the world we live in. For the vision impaired, touch provides a lifeline of opportunity for education, employment, communication, and even just the choice to participate in society on our terms. There is an urgent need to reconnect with the sense of touch and to highlight its importance in all aspects of daily life. At present in New Zealand, there is a famine of resources, a rationing of services, and a total absence of pathways with regards to tactile literacy.
We are David, Chantal, and Anne, vision impaired friends and the founders of the Tactile and Technology Literacy Centre, aka Double TLC. We're on a mission to reimagine how people connect with and use their sense of touch in practical ways now and into the future. Everything we do is designed and led by us as Access citizens, based on a synergy of cutting-edge technology, our own tactile experience, and decades of lived experience. In a world designed for the sighted, where information access favours vision, we redefine how tactile information is conveyed, how concepts such as depth, size, shape, and motion feel under the hands. Using 3D and UV printing technology as part of our toolkit, we bring to life concepts and experiences that can't be touched in their natural forms, such as atoms, 3D maps, or the flickering flames of a campfire. Exploring these concepts in this way ignites and heightens awareness of the transformative power of touch.
Beyond all this, we nurture a tactile learning community for people to explore and share what they learn with others. The holistic experiences and partnerships we forge and our innovative approach in connecting learners and partners alike is unparalleled in the Access community in New Zealand, and dare we say it, the world. The impact of what we share ripples through the Access community as those who learn with us gain transferable skills, confidence, and explore the untapped potential in their lives. Not only does this instill in our learners the value of what they bring as an Access citizen, but the more they explore, the more the value of the Access community is highlighted within society and the economy as a whole. For businesses, this is a great opportunity to create accessible products, packaging, and other solutions that can tap into the Access market in ways that benefit everyone. We partner with the very best in the industry, including generous support from the Possibility Fund, proudly managed under the umbrella of the Perpetual Guardian Foundation, the Braille Authority of New Zealand, the Lizette Westling Memorial Trust, and many others. With partners and connections in many countries, our presence too is global.
Our work is only just beginning. We need help to reach more people, purchase equipment, and create the highest quality resources and programs we can for our learners. That's where you come in. If you'd like to know more about what we do, or if anything we've shared resonates with you, please visit our website or make a donation. If your business would like to find out how to partner with us to help create a more accessible New Zealand, reach out to us. If our services could benefit you or someone you know, give us a call, send us an email, or share with your networks on social media.
COVID has forced us to create a new normal. But a world without touch doesn't have to be our new normal. In this, we have a choice. In this, we have a unique opportunity to leap into the possible and to shift the paradigm of what's normal, acceptable, and accessible in society through touch. We invite you to join with us at Double TLC as we explore in our own way how to hold the world,
Touch the sky,
And truly feel the freedom.
Wow, what incredible stars those three are. And now, I would like to introduce to you the one and only, the extraordinary, the amazing Mike Lloyd.
Kia ora, Mike Lloyd, CVO, Chief Vision Officer of Accommodations. The goal of this social enterprise is to grow tourism opportunities through accessible accommodation using a peer-to-peer network model. So who is the Access traveller? It's those of us travelling with disabilities or access needs, which is all of us at some stage, whether it be short or long term, major or minor. It's us, it's our whānau, it's our friends, covering all sectors of our community. Okay, let's warm up with some pre-COVID numbers. Did you know the New Zealand access tourism market is estimated to be worth $2 to $3 billion per annum? This is the same size as New Zealand Chinese tourism market. The total recorded numbers of individual nights stayed in commercial accommodation equals 40 million per annum, of which home share options equals 15 million. So if we consider roughly a quarter of Kiwis identify as having a disability or access need, then this accounts for a good chunk of those people. Accommodations is currently building a website called MyAccom, MyAccom short for My Accommodation. This online marketplace connects access travellers with requirement-matched accommodation. The properties listed will be homes occupied or managed by people with disabilities, or those with lived experience of disability. So this means people with access needs staying with people with similar access needs. This will support a disability-confident, dignity-positive experience for both guest and host. So how did this idea originate? In 2020, my partner Laura and I moved from Auckland to Tauranga and set up a home-based bed and breakfast business. I was discouraged to find that on the well-known accommodation booking websites that it seemed difficult to find accommodation that would meet a person's access requirements or provide the confidence that they were booking a good experience. Laura and I are both blind and I am also living with Parkinson's. I thought if we can do this, then why not others like us? And who understands disability better than those living it themselves, right? Getting usability and accessibility correct for such a multifaceted community is inviting us to look outside the square and play with possibility. Certainly working for 20 years in the adaptive technology industry is proving useful. MyAccom will include a unique search function to match you with the best accommodation options. We are creating training resources, support programs, and social media forums where our host community can share and learn together. The advantages: convenience. For example, I spoke to a guy who said, as a wheelchair user, I love the idea that I won't need to pack up and take half my house just to get away for the weekend. It will be dignity positive because you can just be yourself. It will save time and lower stress. It will promote the positives of disability. For example, hosts know about local accessibility information. Outcomes: to provide more accessible accommodation options. It will provide an income source for people that they can earn from home. Technology upskilling and increased digital engagement. Community building and social inclusion. It will promote a disability confident society and promote accessible tourism. Our plan: we are currently seeking investor interest. I'd like to extend a thank you to the Possibility Fund, administered by Perpetual Guardian Foundation, for their grant which has allowed Zeald, who is our website developer, to start on the MyAccom website. I am working closely with Zeald and our wonderful accessibility advisors Zoe and Diane, so that MyAccom will be the first place that you go for accessible accommodation. And of course, your user feedback is essential. What I love about this project is that it's getting people thinking about what they would love their next accommodation experience to be like when travelling, and what is possible when we work with each other with a common goal. I am Mike Lloyd from Accommodations. I invite you to check out our website and join us on this exciting journey. Thank you.
Mike, that was extraordinary. And now, for my dear friend and colleague, Sean Winterbottom.
I'm Sean Winterbottom, and I created Touch-Based Design. I love museums and galleries, and I love the experience of engaging with those institutions. I've spent the last 20 years designing exhibitions and educational experiences at places like the Auckland Museum, MOTAT, and for Auckland Council. I'm a neurodiverse learner, and for me, it's about the joy of discovery and sharing that sense of discovery, sparking joy and wonder with others. Touch-based design creates 3D printed models of the treasures from these institutions. Things like artworks, sculptures, and other items from cultural collections that we're not usually allowed to touch. These treasures are traditionally out of reach, up on the wall, on top of plinths, behind glass and velvet ropes. They're out of reach for a reason. They're precious, fragile. They can crumble or deteriorate in your hand. A touch-based 3D printed model gives people a fuller sensory experience. They're not just looking with their eyes. Touch is one of the most important senses. Imagine being able to feel the texture of Van Gogh's Starry Night, the difference between Māori carvings over centuries, being able to hold the delicate construction of a cactus plant or the heft and curve of a moa bone. That's what TouchBase can give you. The models made by TouchBase can translate a visual experience into a tangible sensory engagement. People can experience precious artifacts, artworks, and tonga in a new way. Handling objects that are otherwise untouchable enhances and extends the experience of all visitors to our cultural institutions and creates a lasting cultural connection. Touch-based design is an initiative created with the Access community that can be used by all, whatever your age, stage, or access need. It invites those who are traditionally excluded, those with low or no vision, tactile learners, children frustrated by the limitations and rules of traditional institutions, or those who don't engage with the little white card at the side of the object. It is for any person who wants to deepen their experience of the world around them through multi-sensory participation. I'm a multi-sensory learner, and I don't engage well with text-based information sharing. I also have the benefit of delivering educational programs to a wide variety of audiences of different ages, with different access needs, different cultural backgrounds, different learning abilities. TouchBase invites access for all to the wonder of art and cultural collections by removing that deeply ingrained message of do not touch and creating a new experience, a personal connection with a collection or an artwork or tonga. TouchBase has been part of the Global Centre of Possibility this year, and it's been amazing, both in the people I've met and in the knowledge shared. TouchBase was also the recipient of a Possibility Award, the 2021 Possibility Award administered by Perpetual Guardian. This has enabled me to start creating our first prototypes, which is very exciting. So now I'm looking for support to research the available technology, materials, and costs, to continue developing prototypes, introductions, connections with decision makers in cultural institutions, funding applications, and business modeling, and business mentoring. I believe that TouchBase will create the possibility of engaging in new ways by calling upon the skills, expertise, and experiences of all our community. We create a far richer and more engaging experience for everyone.
Sean, you are an absolute star. Thank you. The next presentation and possibility project is all about the power of technology and the digital age. It gives me absolute pleasure to introduce Genevieve McLaughlin.
I'm Genevieve McLaughlin, and my aim is to create a truly accessible and usable 21st century digital service to enable Access citizens to live, work, and play in possibility in 2022 and beyond. Through my own experience, I've lived through the progression from an analog to a digital world, and I know how difficult that can be for access citizens. These difficulties have only increased as we move more towards a digital world. It's a lot harder now than it was when I started working. Advantech is an accessible digital service that is run for, by, and with access citizens. Today, in 2021 in New Zealand, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of talented professionals living with access needs who don't have access to the technical support they need to flourish. Standard IT support companies don't always know how to support users of assistive technology, such as screen reading, magnification, or speech recognition software. This lack of support means that thousands of New Zealanders are struggling to get an education and to work and live to the best of their abilities. A small team of highly qualified access citizens and others with a deep understanding and working knowledge of assistive technology will be employed to provide digital technology to provide advice on digital technology requirements for each customer, connecting them with the latest and greatest technology, and provide a 24/7 service with representatives from both within New Zealand and around the world who are available at a moment's notice to support technology issues. Professionals with access needs and the organisations who employ them will have access to a 24/7 subscription-based service to support their technology needs, placing them on a level playing field with their non-disabled peers and enabling them to contribute to society and the economy through employment. Individuals with access needs who struggle to use their technology, organisations that employ people with access needs, and organisations whose mandate it is to support people with access needs will all benefit from Advantech. We know there are approximately 1.25 million people living with access needs currently in New Zealand. That's roughly 25%, or a quarter of our population. Of those, 30% are millennials. Statistics New Zealand figures for the June quarter this year show that only 42% of working age access citizens have jobs, compared with 79% of non-disabled working age people. The number of access citizens without jobs has risen during COVID-19 by nearly 10%, more than double the rate of non-disabled at 4%. While it would be nice to offer a one-stop shop for everyone, that's not what I'm offering today. My service will initially focus on access citizens who are blind or have low vision, approximately 8,100 being of working age. My unique advantage is that I have lived experience and many years working with people with access needs using assistive technology. My team will be made up of people who either use this technology or who have a deep understanding and working knowledge of assistive technology, so can help me design a product that works for them. I'm currently in discussion with a number of organisations, including IRA, a US subscription-based service providing real-time visual information, and Ask Alice, a New Zealand subscription-based service providing technology, education and design for small businesses. My overall goal is to work with technology companies around the world to ensure standard technology is functional and accessible to everyone. But in the meantime, I need a team and investment to put Advantech together. If you'd like to know more or get involved, please contact me.
Thank you so much, Genevieve. So much to think about there. Now, I invite you to come on a journey of discovery with Stephen McCartney.
Hello, I'm Stephen McCartney. I'm the co-creator, along with Natasha, of the Discovery Learning Project. I'd like to tell you about the process. I've been a teacher, a school leader, and an educational psychologist for most of my career. But before I go any further, I'm wondering if you can see something different on the screen. Discovery learning. Now, it depends whether you see a spelling mistake, something that needs to be correcting, or something that's unique, cool, and creative, because that's our approach to discovery learning. The discovery learning approach is about building an affordable, accessible, and adaptable process for supporting children and parents with learning differences. And what are learning differences? Well, let me tell you. You might have heard of something like dyslexia, dyspraxia, or attention deficit disorder. They all fit under something called neurodiversity. And I can explain that simply. Neurodiversity, it's a brain thing. Each and every person's and their brain is different. In the process that we use this overview of neurodiversity, which has a simplicity about it that I like. Somewhere between 10 and 15% of children in schools have a neurodiverse issue. What their experience in school is like is when things become difficult, they might be feeling and saying, it's too hard. I don't know how to start. I want to give up. The current support for children with learning differences is often based on test, assess, and things like that. But the issue with doing that and then providing additional programs is the child doesn't learn about their own learning differences and their own way of learning through that process. I'd like to tell you about a discovery of my own. Being part of the Possibility Leadership Program this year has helped me understand that if I want to help and support children with learning differences using my qualifications, research, training, and my career experience, then actually there's something missing. Through my involvement in the program this year, I discovered that I had the courage to openly acknowledge and use my own lived experience of attention deficit disorder, dyspraxia, and dysgraphia. And this will make the project truly a possibility design project. Now, let me tell you about the learning process. It's for children, initially primary school children, and for their parents, family, and whānau who support them, and for schools. The process was created around the children themselves, and that's a really important hallmark of the process. It's going to be a relatively quick process based through giving information on a website, costing about $200, probably not more than an hour. And it's going to use checklists, telling the stories of the child and allowing the knowledge that the child has about themselves to come through. The information from the website will be used in three ways. Firstly, to come up with a sense of what learning difference and challenges the child has, not a diagnosis. Secondly, what I call a PRISM report, to give help for the parents. And thirdly, a personalised About Me learning profile. As I said, firstly, the website will identify what learning differences and challenges may be present. Then, those will be used to help define what I call a PRISM report. I like the idea of a prism because one shaft of light comes in, but many different facets come out as colours on the other side. The PRISM report will involve helping the family and the child understand that out there are people, resources, information technology, and strategies that are there and can be identified. But the most important thing is it's done with a sense of meaningfulness and mana for the learning. for the child and their learning. The third part of the process is the About Me learning profile. Here's a copy and an example of one now, made by a Year 10 student. The profile presents the information from the website in a wonderful, colourful way that becomes a manual and a toolkit. Here are some of the examples of the information about the child presented in the profile. I'm good at, I need help with, and when I need help, So it's about personal choice. There's other information from the family and the child, such as I learn best when, that everybody can contribute to. And related to this is a very important point that raises the possibility approach a lot. That is giving the child the chance to say, instead of doing this, can I do something else? That's when possibility truly becomes part of the equation for the child. And of course, who their support team is. As I said, the discovery learning process will cost about $200. But we will also provide from that income a subsidised or free service to parents and families and children in low decile communities. I think the thing about these kids is they've been called the question mark kids. But what I want to do is turn those questions into exclamation marks and exceptionality. The Discovery Learning Project will create many opportunities for successful learning, for children to learn about themselves and their differences, and to be more effective in the way that they show what they know and understand how they learn. I'm looking for partnership, support and investment in the development and rollout of the website. Finally, I'd like to say that the one thing that is the basis of the Discovery Learning Project is that it's about looking and doing things differently for these children. Thank you.
Such critical work. Thank you, Stephen. Goodness, I don't even know how to describe this gorgeous person and this gorgeous possibility pioneering project. It is my pleasure now to introduce to you the amazing Ari Kersens.
Hello, my name is Ari Kersens, and when I was 19, I became blind. To cut a long story short, it was genetic. I was a makeup artist at the time, and I think the hardest thing about the transition was losing access to my craft, my passion. Suddenly, I had no idea who I was anymore. Blind artists didn't exist. They couldn't exist. At least, that's what I thought. And without possibility thinking, that would be true. The visual arts, as we understand them, are the exclusive domain of the sighted. And that's why I'm assembling a team to champion a deeply transformative movement of possibility in the arts. And I'd like to invite you to join me. Senseless. What is senseless? It's an exhibition and a movement of experiential art, and I don't think anybody could do it justice in 5 minutes, but I'm going to try. The artists we truly connect with don't just make us think, they make us feel. We don't simply react to their art, but the insight into their mind changes how our own mind responds to the world around us. We experience a piece of the world they inhabit. It's beyond sensory, it's experiential. And experience is inherently accessible. It's a bit like light, if you'll excuse my blind person does graphic design aesthetics. You see, visible light only makes up a sliver of the electromagnetic spectrum. There's so much beyond the visible light that we're familiar with. Traditional access is about inclusion within the limits of that sliver. And we, senseless, flip that on its head. We all live on the same planet, right? We share similar experiences, but we perceive them through our own sensory individual lens. Senseless is asking, instead of visual art that explores only the sensory experience of the so-called normal, what happens if we explore the sensory experience of the non-visual? What if, instead of a culture where people fit the mold of art, art fits the mold of people? And not just the 1 in 4 of us with an access need, but all of us. So what is senseless? What form will it take? What am I even talking about? We're only beginning to answer those questions now. And the first step is research. I actually traveled to Europe in early 2020 to start this process of research. But a certain pandemic arrived a little earlier than I did, and lockdown started 12 hours after I arrived in Amsterdam. So that didn't quite happen. Since then, though, I've been developing this idea with some incredible people I'd love to introduce you to real quick. Scott on the left is the director of the Scott Laurie Gallery here in Auckland, where we'll debut the prototype of Senseless in early 2023. And Alison on the right is not only a professor at the School of Hospitality and Tourism at AUT, the Auckland University of Technology, but she also heads the New Zealand Tourism for All network. They're both fantastic people. And the three of us have the support and interest of many artists and advocates throughout New Zealand. Because we have a plan. We're starting with a bit of research and development, and this is the only beginning of a very complex process. As technologies and understandings change, we're going to keep an open mind as to how Senseless will look and operate in the world. We've already started the research here in New Zealand with Alison, but we've got a whole world to explore. A world full of innovative artists, galleries, and technologies to connect with. And maybe you're one of them. With Professor McIntosh and her students, we connect with Access trailblazers around the world. We'll find out what makes them tick and how we can build upon that together. And along the way, we plant the seeds of an international network of experiential artists and galleries who just get it. Through 2022, we reimagine the process of curation, out of the ivory tower and into a deeply collaborative, accessible approach without compromising or tokenizing. While our artists create, we will put together the possibility prototype, a framework that encompasses staff, audiences, and artists, both existing and emergent. I don't have time to go into it here, but there's more information about our framework on our website. Everything comes together in early 2023 with the pilot exhibition of Senseless. How this happens will be informed by that earlier research. Senseless is an unprecedented proposition in unprecedented times, and in the spirit of possibility, we aren't prescribing anything more than a deeply accessible experience here at the Scott Laurie Gallery in Auckland. Of course, that's far from the end. We'll travel to galleries and art spaces locally and abroad, working deeply with the people local to each space to implement our framework in a way that makes sense to them and their communities. We'll reconnect with those international networks to sculpt something beautiful and global together. This is beyond exciting, but to make it happen, we need support. We're not a charity, but like all art, we need philanthropic support to make this happen. Financial and in-kind support will mean we can bring together the wide range of skills and minds that we need to make every step of this pioneering work possible, accessible, and sustainable. This is a huge opportunity to do amazing things, and if you can see our vision and want to be a part of it, we would love to hear from you. Again, I'm Ari Kersens, I'm the director of Senseless, and you can reach me on my email at ari@mobiusaccess.nz. Thanks so much for your time today.
Ari, that was absolutely breathtaking. Thank you. Now, if it wasn't enough to focus on one pioneering possibility idea this year, our next presenter, Kim, has two incredible ideas.
How many people do you think get stuck in codependency? How many people can't envision a way out? How many people don't know how to break this cycle? Hi, my name is Kim Dybel, and I'm a social change access entrepreneur. I have a passion for social change with a focus on accessibility and youth. Finding the answers to these questions drives me. Throughout this year, participating in the Possibility Leadership Program, I have discovered that I have a unique approach to business. This is because of my background in accounting and my passion for working with youth. The program has given me the opportunity to create a new service that integrates change development and business facilitation that will enable participants to realise their potential. Currently, we are living in a society where there is a huge amount of wasted talent because of the low expectations that are placed on individuals with access needs at a systematic level. Over 24% of the world's population has an access need. This is the equivalent to over 1 million New Zealanders. These Kiwis have the ability to contribute $13 billion to the New Zealand economy annually. However, we are realising less than $4 billion of this. This is because over half of New Zealand's access citizens do not participate in our economy. The service model that I have created has the ability to unlock this potential within individuals, creating the opportunity to exponentially advance the trajectory of the access community as a whole. This growth could add at least an extra $4 billion annually to New Zealand's economy. Society's low expectations are real barriers to success for people with access needs, but this is not a future we have to buy into. So I am creating a new one that is focused on a person's true strength and identity, what can be done, what is possible. Envision Futures philosophy is a complete departure from coping with and managing barriers. It is one that generates possibility, breaks patterns, and creates new ways for people to have agency and determine their own future. By inviting them to explore and connect with their community and who they are. This self-determined community, created by both youth and entrepreneurs, will unleash their capacity for full and meaningful participation in society. Envision Futures Access Entrepreneur Service is complemented by its sister service, Youth Able. Youth Able is our flagship service that engages with young people and their whānau from 15 to 23 years old through peer-facilitated workshops and intensive individualised coaching. Youth begin to define their identities and their communities as they move into adulthood. Our Access Entrepreneur Service will offer an individualised coaching model that works alongside access entrepreneurs to demystify and increase their knowledge to set up businesses, as well as increasing their financial literacy skills. It will be a circuit breaker that has the potential to give them the skills to create a sustainable and meaningful self-employment journey. The purpose of this program is to give people the autonomy to author their own working future. A percentage of the fees our Access Entrepreneurs earns will support Youth Able to provide a free or subsidised support to youth and the next generation of access entrepreneurs. This will future-proof the next generation and support the growth of the access community. There are currently no programs similar to ours that are accessible and provide this invitation to individuals and their whānau. Which future do you want to be a part of? The one that we are seeing now, or one where all people are confident and reaching their potential in a community that is 100% accessible? We welcome your recommendations for people who would benefit from this approach, your investment, support, or partnership. Breaking patterns and shattering expectations, we are ready to go.
Kim, your work with youth is incredible. Thank you. And now for our final pioneer of possibility today, the one and only, the extraordinary, Kate Grace.
Possibility Partnership. Kia ora anō, ko Kate Grace toko ingoa. My name is Kate Grace and I met you earlier when I opened this extraordinary event. For the next 5 minutes, I'm going to introduce you to my lens of possibility. Whānau Whanake was born out of a realisation that services for people like myself did not exist. As an individual with chronic health and invisible disability, I was told I needed to do things like exercise more. But there was no one in mainstream society that would cater to my needs or take me on over a decade ago. Rather, they would put me in the too hard basket, So instead of letting them get me down, I decided to create what I needed for myself and for so many other people who, like me, had unmet health and hauora needs and just needed a little bit of support so they would be able to find their own pathways towards hauora. We started with the goal of getting just one person off the couch, and we evolved to the intention of creating a more enabling society, which is a mission and value that continues to guide everything we do today. To quote a great musician, Rabel, there's nothing wrong with you. It's true. It's true. There's something wrong with the village, something wrong with the village. I think we can all agree that the disabling factor for people who face chronic health, illness, adversity, and disability is not the conditions that they work to positively manage, but a society that removes their mana, the power over their own lives and their own voice. A society that erects barriers instead of tearing them down. Disability is a Western colonial construct. In many Indigenous cultures, disability, chronic illness, or adversity only comes because something is out of balance. And thus, the answer is not fixing the person, but working together with the whole village to restore balance. Not to return to how things were, but to adapt the community, to allow for the person to thrive and participate in society in the way that they desire. This is the creation of enabling society. This is the true meaning of partnership. And this is the mindset from which this year's RAW project began as a direct result of being part of the GCOP. I would like to introduce you to a group of rangatahi, of our youth. Like me, these young people have all faced their own barriers to engaging with society, either due to health conditions, disability, or other adversities. However, when I look at this picture of these young people, what stands out to me is not everything that they have faced or have had to overcome, but the possibilities, not for now, but more importantly, for our future. Ko Sophie Elster Grandwell Tine. I am proud to introduce our whānau whanaki tūhono rangatahi. Sophie, please join us.
As rangatahi, we often face significant barriers. As the generations before, it is their responsibility to be good ancestors and create a society for rangatahi to thrive. However, we are often dictated to what we can do and how we should do it. For rangatahi who face health conditions and other adversities, the biomedical model further disables us by presuming that they know what is best for us. As a result, rangatahi are consistently having their mana and their ability to use their voice diminished. This year, I explored the question, how do we create a more enabling society for rangatahi? The answer came in creating an environment which allows for those who are disabled by society to have their voices seen through providing a space which not only supports, but actively encourages them to be the authors of their own destiny. This project began with 4 rangatahi. We formed a first leadership group, desiring to do something different. Whānau whanake intentionally journeyed alongside us in the partnership, accepting that we are the experts of our own needs and we should direct our own journey. We were given a blank piece of paper, a budget, and the support and encouragement to be courageous, to dream, to use our voices to create opportunities that are relevant, meaningful, and accessible to us. This required doing things differently, intentionally taking the time to ask us, not as a token gesture, but as an earnest desire for what we need to express ourselves, giving us the space and the time to find our answers, not being forced into a timeline. A true partnership and true consultation required recognizing that when someone is diminished or silenced or dictated by society, for so long, it can take time for us to reclaim our voices, to be encouraged to speak, and to create a safe and enabling space for us to embark on this journey. Letting go of expectations, having no expectations on the direction we should go or the destination we should reach. Being curious, getting stuck or even a little bit lost is inevitable in any journey into the unknown. For when this happens, there is a tendency for Pākeke to jump in with answers or dictate once again. Often however, we chose to instead ask for clarifying questions, which allows us to find our own solutions and forge our own pathways. What was developed was RAW, Rangatahi Ora Activity Rōpū. An activity rōpū where young people who are often excluded from participation in normal teenage activities due to varying conditions and abilities provided an environment and opportunity to connect meaningfully with others. The initial leadership team of 4 rangatahi set out to reach a goal of 60 rangatahi within the first year. Already within a few months, the group has reached over 30 rangatahi, growing in its own esteem faster than expected, indicating that this is not only needed, but it is working. But more significantly, the rangatahi are no longer connecting to meet their own needs or for the enjoyment and inclusion. They have set their sights on a wider societal change as well, from being together in a space that enables them to be themselves and finding the courage and capacity to go one step further and advocate for others and for those who follow after them. Already the rōpū have used their voices to advocate for policy change in the health system, to powerfully share their stories in areas of hininaro, mental wellbeing, during Mental Health Awareness Week, in an effort to both normalise and advocate for those areas in Ōtautahi. They have lobbied with local council for basketball courts and are working in 2022 to create accessible play equipment to encourage curiosity in schools and public spaces. The problem was neither them. The problem was the village. And if the needs of the person not being met in the village, there is an opportunity for change. Possibility begins with this opportunity, a place of willingness to work together, shared values and purpose. Success is embracing the uncertainty and adapting together so everyone can thrive. After all, if you listen with your senses off, you'll be able to see our voices. For Roa, this was the beginning. In 3 months, the group has grown by over 600%. The initial budget of $1,000, they have already nurtured 5 initial ideas and secured over $90,000 in funding. Based in Ōtautahi, Roa has given open a partnership to be brave, to be a courageous group, and for funders who believe that our rangatahi are the future, will you be our next partner?
Tirohia or Mātou Reo, see our voices. What a remarkable journey this young group of amazing leaders have been through this year. While I was at GCOP, they were doing this back here in the Harakiki roots in Ōtautahi. With more partners, the Raw Leadership Group can plan for long-term sustainability. They continually ask themselves how we can ensure a future for those who face additional challenges and adversity. How can we develop their leadership capability? How can we upskill and ensure employment opportunities? As each question arises, they are working together to find solutions, developing their own pathways for possibility and for development and creation of a future that they want for themselves and their peers. They focus on what they can do, not the cannots, not the other voices telling them what they should or shouldn't do. They are changing the status quo, creating a new future narrative for access citizens. Past villages may have failed them, but it is these experiences that have brought them together to create their own mana enhancing space, where they can live a life of self-determining future full of opportunity and possibility. So what can we learn from these rangatahi that is relevant to us all? First, that people are experts in their own destiny. They know what is best for them. Society needs to listen, and we need to adapt. See their voices, value their input, and allow them to be authors in their own destiny. The problem is not them. The problem is in the village. And if the needs of the person is not being met, the village needs to change. So if you are ready for change, if somebody out there is curious about possibility and partnering with the Raw team here in Ōtautahi, Te Waipounamu, Christchurch, South Island, please let Sophie or I know, and we can introduce you to this future group. Keep your eyes peeled, people. They will be known to all of you. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
Kia ora, Kate. That was absolutely beautiful. And thanks to Sophie also. Earlier, I spoke about the power of the possibility lens to transform the future and to ensure we have a truly equitable world for everyone. And I spoke about the absolutely critical nature of the concept of leading, designing, and creating with, not to and not for. One person who is the deep embodiment of the concept of with is my dear friend, my colleague, and the chair of the Global Centre of Possibility, the one, the only, the amazing John Allen.
Kia ora tātou, ko John Allen tōku ingoa. My name's John Allen. I'm the chair of the Be Accessible Trust, and it's my great pleasure on behalf of my fellow board members who are on this call to welcome everyone to this celebration. It's a celebration not only of possibility, as you've heard from Minnie, and the way in which we can use people-led design to innovate and change the world, as you've heard from experts in Seattle and around the world. But it's also a celebration of our 10 entrepreneurs and the specific initiatives that they've been able to progress over the last period in the face of COVID, which will shift the dial in Aotearoa, will shift the dial around the world, based on the work they've done in such diverse areas as education, technology, innovation around community building, shifting things and thinking around arts and youth development. There's a heap of value in the work that's been done. It's fantastic, it's transformative, and it will make a difference in this country. Now, the reason I'm so excited about it is particularly because we're living in a time when people are thinking change is impossible. When people are thinking that the challenges in front of them, whether they're COVID-related or others, are impossible to navigate. When people are taking narrow views and putting up walls and becoming closed off from each other and from the world. And what our entrepreneurs have demonstrated, what they've shown in lived experience and the work that they've done over the last period, is that in that environment, it is possible to think differently. It's possible to think creatively. It's possible to engage and shift and change. It's possible to disrupt. It's possible to build. It's possible to dream. And it's possible, as a consequence of all of that, to make this world and this country a much better and more inclusive, a much more dynamic place. And I think that is something that is worth celebrating. They've also demonstrated the capabilities that they bring. They've also demonstrated that people who label, people who use prejudice, when they look at people who are different, are wrong. And shown in their work and in what they have achieved, the unleashing capabilities of this access community. And what I want to say to you tonight, or this afternoon, or this morning, or whichever time of the day it is that we're actually viewing this thing, what I want to say to you is this, that we have tried in B now for 10 years to shift attitudes towards the access community. We've tried to engage people across our country in that challenge. We've tried to unleash the potential of the members of that community. And I am hugely excited that today, with this celebration, with this work, with this process, we're on track to deliver real and substantive change. So if I was with you, if we were able to do this in person, I would be singing, I would be dancing, I would be hugging, I'd be going full Boris Johnson. I can't do that because of Zoom, as obviously. But I just want to say how proud I am of our entrepreneurs. I want to say how proud I am with the family whānau and other supporters that have enabled them to be so successful. I want to say how proud I am of our partners at AUT and with Minnie and Leslie and Ben and the rest of the team for the work they have done in supporting this enormous effort. I want to reach out to our international partners and partners around Aotearoa who have worked with B over the last 10 years and continue to support our vision. I want to mention in particular the MSD team, who've funded a lot of our work over many, many, many years, taken a risk on this fledgling organisation that had the audacity to say, we can do things differently, we can change the world. And I want to say to all of you how extraordinary it is tonight and today and this morning, this afternoon, as I said, whatever it is, that we can celebrate some real practical examples of that happening in this country. Lastly, I want to recognise Dame Tariana Turia, who I understand is on the call. Tēnā koe rangatira, te whana ki tō iwi, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. It was Tariana who 10 years ago took a real risk on B. It was Tariana who is, of course, herself a huge disruptor, a huge innovator, who herself brings to life this planning for people and around community basis, which is the foundation of the work that has been done that's being celebrated tonight. It's Tariana who has demonstrated that you can speak truth to power and through your actions you can change. It's Tariana who's demonstrated that dignity rather than anger is the best way to actually manage and implement change. And we've tried to take that learning, that experience, that example into the DNA of B. So it's with real humility and in a real spirit of thanksgiving that I want to say to Dame Tariana, I hope that we're doing and have done you proud. I hope that the work that you're seeing celebrated tonight gives you confidence that we are going to be able to make continuing progress to unleash the potential of the Access community in Aotearoa and around the world. I know that we've just launched a new ministry and a governance committee for Access. That is a splendid thing if it's properly resourced and properly funded and is going to make an amazing difference in this country. But what will make even more difference is allowing the members of the Access community, such as the entrepreneurs that we're celebrating tonight, to take charge of their own lives, not to wait for the world to catch up and change their prejudices and change their attitudes, but to just get on with making the changes that are necessary to enable them to live to their potential. That's what they've been doing. That's how they are showing us the way forward. And it's in that spirit of celebration that I want to say thank you to all of you for attending this call. I thought I'd close with a poem because I know that this is a deeply poetic Zoom. And I thought the poem I'd choose is by an American poet called Wendell Berry. And it goes something like this. I get it wrong normally when I say it off the cuff, but nonetheless, it goes something like this. It's called The Future. It goes, planting trees in early spring, we make a place where birds can sing in times to come. How do you know? They sing there now. There is no other guarantee that singing will ever be. The reason I love that is not just because it demonstrates that in sowing seeds such as we've been sowing through B over the last 10 years, you can actually begin to create something that will sustain the future. But it's the simple things like planting trees. It's the simple things like leadership programs, entrepreneurship programs of the kind that we've put together that create the foundations of that future growth. If I was with you in person, I might sing the Waiata Hutia at this stage, which I know many of you will know, Hutia Te Rutoa Te Harakeke, which is all about, if you take the heart out of the flaxbush, where will the bellbird stand to sing? What B has been doing is creating a foundation, and the GCOP, of course, as part of the B group, has been creating a foundation in which future generations of members of the Access community and other citizens will be able to stand proudly and sing. Nō reira tēnā koutou, kia ora mai tēnā tātou katoa.
John, you are incredible. Such energy, such passion. John, thank you so much for your incredible support and leadership over all these years. It is now my absolute pleasure and my absolute privilege to be able to acknowledge, celebrate and thank each and every one of the 10 pioneers of possibility we have heard from today, and to thank them and congratulate them on their journey through the Possibility Leadership Program this year. First of all, I'd like to thank and acknowledge Anne Nulesa, David Sivaratnam, Chantal Griffith, Ari Kirstens, Sean Winterbottom, Kim Dybel, Genevieve McLaughlin, Stephen McCartney, Michael Lloyd, Kate Grace. Thank you to each and every one of you. What an extraordinary group of leaders and pioneers. And now, on behalf of the 2021 Possibility Leadership Program, I would like to introduce you again to the amazing Chantal Griffith.
Thank you. It's such an honour and a privilege to be here today with you all and to speak on behalf of all of the talented Access entrepreneurs of the inaugural Possibility Leadership Program. It feels very surreal saying that now we're finally here. And the very fact that we are all here, in spite of everything going on in the world, speaks to the incredible commitment, resilience, and the burning desire within all of us to see the change our society and the world so desperately needs. And it all stems from the mystery that is possibility. I remember clearly the very moment earlier this year when my life changed forever. I had a sudden urge to check my email at 5 a.m, as you do, and found an invitation from Minnie to apply for this thing called the Possibility Leadership Program. In that moment, I didn't even know what that meant, but it was like I'd been struck by lightning. And honestly, at first, I had absolutely no idea why. Until about 2 seconds later, that is. To this day, I can only call it a divine intervention moment, a golden, shimmering moment in time where I knew with crystal clarity and beyond all doubt exactly what I needed to do and why. And unfortunately, for the other members of the soon-to-be Team TLC, that meant a 6 a.m. email with an equally unexpected invitation. I was lit up and ready to change the world. But what did changing the world even mean? And how did possibility fit in? I mean, I thought I knew what possibility meant already, but I wanted to know more. I think I can safely say that for us and the entire Possibility crew, leaders and entrepreneurs alike, we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. What delighted and surprised me the most right from the start was that someone other than us believed enough in our crazy idea to offer us a place on the program, believed enough to help us weave the first tenuous threads of an idea into a strong, sacred tapestry of rich textures and vibrant colours. And even on the days when we couldn't feel or see it ourselves, Minnie and her extraordinary team saw within us all the potential to grow and to become the change we needed to see. But unbeknown to us, the only way to do that was to become possibility. Only a small matter of completely reconfiguring who we are, what we believe, and how we show up every day. For some of us, that meant embracing our Access identity and tapping into deeper wells of courage and confidence we didn't know we had. For me, it meant humbling myself again and again, sometimes in tears in front of those I loved most, offering up myself and our idea and saying, please help, because right now I know I'm messing up and I just don't know what to do. And all the while, we were nurtured, guided, cared for, and supported in a way that meant we knew we weren't alone. Partnership, collaboration, connection, and witness were integral to everything we learned, and this forged diamond strength bonds between us. Reflecting back over the past year, it's amazing how far we've come, and it's all thanks to our incredible leadership team. To Leslie, Imogen, Sabrina, and Sinead, thank you for your love, support, and guidance in all aspects of entrepreneurship and access leadership. For being there to answer our craziest questions and for believing in us 100%. To the incomparable Ben, thank you for keeping things running smoothly behind the scenes. Your warmth, generosity, and willingness to drop everything to assist with whatever we needed kept us well-fed and worry-free to learn. To all of the Access entrepreneurs, thank you for the late-night conversations, deep questions, and incredible generosity as we walk the talk together. And last but not least, Minnie. Without you, we wouldn't be here today. Without your first inkling of what might be possible, this program and the Global Centre of Possibility wouldn't exist. And without your dedication, generosity, and showing us what it truly means to live as a possibility pioneer, we wouldn't have had the chance to explore what possibility truly means and how to share that possibility vision with the world. Thank you. So, here we are, and our journey is just beginning, not just with ideas, but with game-changing access innovations. We now know that each one of us has something very unique and special to offer as we continue to learn and walk with each other and you on our possibility leadership journey. This year has given us all a small taste of what is possible, and we're lit up and ready to change the world. With our hearts full of love, gratitude, and our heads full of curiosity and new ideas, we step out into the world and turn our innovations into reality. In this golden, shimmering moment in time, where we know exactly what we need to do and why, for me, the question is not what if or what next, but what else? To possibility and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chantal. Goodness, you are so articulate and eloquent. That was just beautiful. Thank you so much. So there we have it. A celebration of possibility, leadership, design, and innovation. Thank you so much for joining the Global Centre of Possibility, our 10 pioneers of possibility, our friends, our partners, our supporters. It's been an absolute privilege to share this special occasion with you all. If you'd like to know more about the work of the Global Centre or about possibility, contact us at the globalcenterofpossibility.co.nz. With all our very best wishes, take care and thank you.